During the will reading, my spoiled nephew grinned and said, "I'm going to get everything." The lawyer laughed and replied, "Actually, you're getting exactly what you deserve." His smile faded when he opened the letter and read it. I never thought I'd see the day when my late brother's son, Tyler, would have to face the consequences of his actions, but there we were, sitting in the lawyer's office, waiting for my brother's will to be read. Tyler sat with his arms crossed, looking smug. He barely paid attention to anyone. In his mind, my brother's money, house, and business were already his. He wasn't sad or upset, he was just waiting for his payday. He had always been that way, spoiled, arrogant, and sure that the world owed him something. My brother, Mark, had tried to teach him right from wrong, but Tyler thought hard work was beneath him. He dismissed responsibility and wasted money as if it were endless. Now, in that office, he acted as if he'd already won. The lawyer, Mr. Holloway, who had handled our family's affairs for years, cleared his throat and said, "Mark was very clear about how he wanted his estate divided." Tyler scoffed and said, Yeah, can we just get to the part where I inherit everything?" "Patience, Mr. Holloway replied calmly. Tyler rolled his eyes, but I noticed he was a little nervous. He should have been. First, the lawyer read a few smaller items: a donation to charity, money for an animal shelter that my brother supported, some savings for my sister, a lake house for a cousin, and a collection of vintage watches for an old friend. Then it was Tyler's turn. Tyler sat up straight with his usual smirk and looked at me as if daring me to speak. He really believed he was about to inherit millions. Mr. Holloway sighed, took a sealed envelope, and slid it across the table. "Tyler," he said calmly but firmly, "your father left you a letter." At that moment, Tyler's smirk faded just a little. "A letter?" Tyler asked, confused. "Yes," replied Mr. Holloway, "along with what he felt you truly deserved." Tyler grabbed the envelope and opened it quickly, pulling out the neatly folded paper. As he read the first few lines, his face went pale, and his confident smile completely disappeared. His hands gripped the letter so tightly that his knuckles turned white. I leaned back, waiting. I already knew what the letter said. Tyler's mouth opened, but no words came out. After blinking a few times, he shook his head. This is a joke, right?" Mr. Holloway folded his fingers and said, "Not a joke. Your father was very serious." Tyler's voice rose. "You're saying I get nothing?" Mr. Holloway stayed calm. "I'm saying you are getting exactly what your father left you, and it's not nothing." Tyler's hands trembled as he looked back at the letter. He kept reading, and his face twisted into a mix of anger and panic. His arrogance was crumbling right in front of us. Because my brother hadn't left him any money or property, he had left him a lesson. Tyler's face turned pale, and he struggled to understand what he was reading. The smug look was completely gone. I had never seen him so speechless before, and I almost felt a bit of satisfaction. Almost. I knew what would come next. This isn't right," Tyler finally shouted, his voice shaky and high. "There's no way he would do this to me." Mr. Holloway remained calm and said, "Your father was very clear about his wishes." Tyler slammed the letter down on the desk. "You're lying," he yelled. He stood up quickly, almost knocking over his chair, while his mother, my brother's ex-wife, reached out to him. "Tyler, please sit down," she said, but he ignored her. His eyes darted around the room, and his breathing became erratic. He wasn't in control anymore. Mr. Holloway simply pointed to the letter. "Would you like to read it out loud?" Tyler grabbed the letter again but hesitated. He clearly didn't want anyone else to hear it. So I offered to read it. "I can read it," I said, leaning forward. Tyler snapped at me, "Shut up," but Mr. Holloway nodded. "If you'd like to read it, that's your right. Your brother wanted his final words to be shared if needed." The moment had arrived. After a brief pause, Tyler let go of the letter, his hands still trembling with sweat on his forehead. I unfolded the letter, cleared my throat, and began to read. "Tyler, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and I can already picture you in this lawyer's office, waiting for your payday. You always thought that money and success would come easily, just because you're my son. You believed life would give you everything on a silver platter, but life doesn't work that way, neither do I. I spent my whole life building something from nothing, working hard for every dollar and every bit of respect. I wanted you to have that drive too, but you never wanted to work for anything. You expected me to fix your mistakes, pay your debts, and clean up your messes, and I did. For far too long. I warned you. I gave you chances, but you ignored them. You stole from me, you lied to me, you disrespected me and everyone who helped build this family's success. You burned bridges without a care, thinking I would always be there to fix things. Not anymore. You are not inheriting my money, my house, or my business, you are inheriting a lesson. You have to choose, take responsibility for your actions or keep going the same way, but I will no longer be your safety net. This isn't out of spite, it's out of love. If I left you my fortune, I would be destroying you. If you want wealth, earn it. Tyler stormed out, but I knew his anger wasn't over. His whole life had been built on the idea that he deserved everything without effort. Now, he had to face the truth. He used to believe that nothing ever affected him, until his father's final words shattered that illusion in front of everyone. I expected him to lose control, but I never imagined how extreme his reaction would be. At first, nothing much happened for a few weeks. The family mostly moved on, happy that Mark had made the right choice. Mark's business was now run by his longtime partner, Greg, a man who wasn't rich but had strong principles. Mark had made it clear he trusted Greg to take over. Tyler, however, vanished completely. He stopped calling and texting. Then one morning, Greg called me, his voice tense. "We've got a problem," he said. I asked, "What kind of problem? Is someone trying to destroy everything?" My stomach sank as he replied, "Tyler, who else?" It turned out Tyler had decided that if he couldn't have his father's empire, he would stop everyone else from getting it. Tyler started his revenge with sabotage and lies. At first, small rumors spread that Greg was mismanaging the company and that Mark's business was in trouble. Then came fake emails. Tyler created an email account pretending to be Greg and sent false messages to investors, clients, and employees, claiming there was fraud, financial ruin, and hidden scandals. At first, people ignored these rumors, but Tyler did not stop. He dug through old records, twisted normal transactions into something dangerous, and mixed in just enough truth to make his lies believable. Next, he filed a lawsuit. One morning, I woke up to a headline that chilled me. Son of late businessman Mark Anderson files lawsuit against father's estate, alleges fraud and coercion in will. I could hardly believe it. Tyler claimed that Mark had been forced to cut him out of the will by Greg, the lawyer, and even me. He demanded that the court cancel the will and give him everything, the business, the money, the properties. It was absurd, but even absurd lawsuits can cause real harm. When the media picked up the story, it spread quickly. Investors grew nervous, clients started leaving. Greg was overwhelmed by legal fees, and Tyler seemed to enjoy the chaos. I even saw him on a local news station, standing outside the courthouse in a suit that looked too expensive for him. He spoke as if he were a heartbroken son fighting for his rightful share. "I just want what's fair," he told the camera, his voice full of fake sadness. "I don't understand why my father's closest friends would try to cut me out. He loved me, he would have wanted me to have what he built." I almost threw my coffee at the screen. Tyler did not care about honoring his father's memory, he just wanted revenge. But we were ready for him. Tyler thought he could manipulate the system and force a settlement. What he didn't know was that Mark had prepared for this. Mark had kept records for years, and those records showed that Tyler wasn't just a spoiled brat, he was a thief. Mr. Holloway, our lawyer, called an emergency meeting with Greg and me. He opened a thick file of documents and said, "I suspected this might happen, and so did your brother." I leaned in as he pulled out a document. Proof. Mark's records show that Tyler had been stealing money from the company. The file contained bank statements, emails that proved Tyler had tried to sell trade secrets, and witness statements from former employees and even an ex-girlfriend who spoke about his fraud, theft, and extortion. Tyler had always thought he was above the rules, but Mark had documented every misdeed. Mr. Holloway smirked. "Isn't it poetic? Tyler has given us the perfect chance to bring him down. We expose him and end his game." When our legal team filed a counter-lawsuit, the tables turned. Tyler expected the estate to settle with him just to avoid hassle. Instead, we came with all the evidence: fraud, theft, and business sabotage. We filed criminal charges and froze his accounts. His own lawyer, who had hoped for a big payout, abandoned him the moment he saw the evidence. The media, which once painted Tyler as a wronged son, quickly turned against him when the full story emerged. I will never forget the courtroom scene. Tyler sat at the defendant's table, his once arrogant face now pale and empty. The judge dismissed his lawsuit for good and ruled in favor of Greg and the others, awarding millions in damages. Tyler could only sit there in shock. When he looked at his mother, she was too ashamed to meet his eyes. Then the judge delivered the final blow. The defendant will be remanded into custody pending sentencing for fraud and embezzlement charges. Tyler collapsed in his seat. The once golden boy, who had believed himself untouchable, now faced prison. A few months later, I received a short letter from Tyler. I almost didn't open it, but curiosity won. It read, "I thought I had it all figured out. I thought Dad was just trying to control me, but I see now he was giving me a chance to be better, and I threw it away. I deserve this." I'm not sure if Tyler ever truly changed, but one thing is clear, he finally learned what it meant to face consequences, even if those consequences were set in motion by his own father's careful planning. After the trial, Tyler's life fell apart quickly. He had no money, no friends, and no way out. His mother, who had enabled him for years, refused to help pay his bail. The few friends he had abandoned him as soon as they saw he had nothing left to offer. He tried to fight the charges, but the evidence was overwhelming. He was guilty of fraud, embezzlement, and attempted sabotage. The judge was strict. At sentencing, the courtroom was full, family members, former employees who had suffered because of his actions, and even reporters. Tyler sat there looking like a shadow of his former self, his expensive suits gone, his hair messy, and his hands trembling as the judge spoke. "Mr. Anderson, you have shown a pattern of entitlement, deception, and criminal behavior," the judge said. "You had every chance to take responsibility for your actions, but you chose greed, manipulation, and fraud. This court finds you guilty." The judge then gave his final sentence, 15 years in prison. When those words were spoken, Tyler let out a shaky breath. His face was blank, no anger, no smugness, just quiet and stunned defeat. As the bailiffs came to take him away, he looked at me for the first time without arrogance or anger, just small and lost. After the trial, life went on. The business thrived under Greg's leadership, without Tyler draining its resources. It became more successful than ever. Employees who once feared Tyler's reckless behavior finally had stability. The estate was used just as Mark had wished. Family members were cared for, and the charities he loved received generous donations. As for Tyler, the last I heard, he was struggling in prison. Life behind bars was harsh on an entitled rich boy. One day, Greg sent me a news article about Tyler. It said that he had been tricked out of the little money he had by older inmates. They convinced him they could protect him, for a price, and when they were done, they left him completely alone. It was ironic. For years, Tyler had used and taken advantage of people, thinking he was smarter than everyone else. In the end, he became just another fool who learned the hard way. The last time I saw him, he looked completely broken. There were no smirks, no arrogance, just a man who had lost everything. In the end, Mark had the last laugh. One night, I visited his grave and stood there thinking about everything that had happened, how Tyler had tried to take and destroy everything, only to end up with nothing. I swear that in the sound of the wind through the trees, I could almost hear Mark laughing. Even in death, my brother had planned for the future, and in the end, he won. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, please like, comment, and subscribe for more great stories. Don't forget to tap the notification bell, so you never miss an update. Share your thoughts in the comments. We love hearing from you. See you next time, and take care.